ทุกท่านครับในการบรรยายลำดับต่อไปนะครับเราได้รับเกียรติจากผู้ทรงคุณวุฒิแบบที่ได้กล่าวไว้ในช่วงแรกนะครับก็คือการบรรยายในหัวข้อการผสมผสานเทคโนโลยีสู่ศิลปะและวัฒนธรรมนะครับโดยมิสเตอร์การ์เรตแมคคีนะครับจากเวลเทคประเทศนิวซีแลนด์ซึ่งท่านนั้นเป็นผู้ที่ร่วมสร้างภาพยนตร์เรื่องอวตารแล้วก็คิงคองด้วย
ใช่ค่ะ The second keynote speaker is the head of the Digital Media School and a lecturer in Creative Technology at Wellington Institute of Technology from New Zealand. He will share interesting perspectives on the topic of the combination of technology in the art and culture. So now may I invite Mr. Gareth Mackey.
สวัสดีครับนูไมฮาริไม
สวัสดีค่ะ
Kia ora tātou Kia ora ki Aotearoa ko Tīmata te maunga ko Tuki Tuki te awa ko Gareth McGee tōku ingoa Hello and welcome from New Zealand My name is Gareth McGee I am the Associate Head of School for Creative Technologies and Creative Industries at Welltech in Wellington in New Zealand. The Tīmata is my mountain where I grew up and the Tuki Tuki is my river where I'm from in Hawke's Bay. I thank you a great deal for having the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm hoping to talk with you a little bit about our technology and art and culture from New Zealand and what we're experiencing in our education system there. There's a great deal, of course, that has changed over the last 20 to 30 years with technology taking a forefront in the way we teach and in the interests of our students, of course. If I can have the second slide, please. Where are we? Up on the screen behind me, you'll see a word up there called whakapapa. It is a Māori word, and whakapapa is a word for genealogy. And for many of us, genealogy relates to our bloodlines, of course, to our ancestry. Whakapapa in a Māori context means a great deal more than that though. My personal whakapapa, I talked about Tīmata and Tuki Tuki being my mountain and my river, and that is where I whakapapa to, that is where my homeland is, and those are the things that are important to me. But once I left school, I actually became a hairdresser for 10 years. I did that not necessarily because I wanted to be a hairdresser. I just didn't want to be at school anymore. The one thing it taught me though is the beginnings of a passion for creativity, for art and design. Following my time of hairdressing, I left and joined a place called Weta Workshop in New Zealand. At that time, we were just starting to create some movies, beginning with Lord of the Rings, and I was to end up staying with Weta for 10 years, creating the Lord of the Rings movies, Avatar, District 9, and many other films. my time at Weta culminated in me running or being the workshop supervisor for Weta with 120 artists working under me. So I left Weta after 10 years. My own carving practice. I'm a carver as part of my own art and design, and so I left Weta to be able to pursue that and to begin my teaching career with Welltech. I taught for the next 7 years, and then have spent the last year managing a group of teachers in our Creative Technologies school. If we can change to the next slide. I spoke a little bit about that Māori word called whakapapa, and up on the screen behind me is the definition, I suppose, of that word, of whakapapa. And the reason I'm explaining it to you is because it takes quite a large part of what I would like to talk to you this afternoon about. In Māori terms, whakapapa means genealogy, but that's not only about mai or human genealogy. In Māori tradition, every single thing in the world around us has its own genealogy, its own whakapapa, and its own history. Within Māoridom, everything relates back to our gods and our ancestors. Even modern things in the way that they're built still relate back to, at some point in history, a whakapapa or a tie to the gods or to our ancestors. Now that concept of the genealogy of all things and all people is incredibly important, as we'll talk about coming up soon. As it says, everything has its whakapapa, and so within Māori terms, even the floor that I'm standing on, which is wood, in Māori context, I would say that this floor I'm standing on relates to the god of the forests. And therefore, it has its own importance and its own history, and therefore its own almost spirituality, I guess is a good word for it. Now, that's a very old concept, and what we're trying to do within an education system, even within New Zealand, is to start acknowledging back to some of those ancient ways. And the importance for that you'll see shortly as we talk more. Okay, and next please. Up here behind me you'll see the whakapapa or the genealogy of New Zealand, of Aotearoa, that's my country. New Zealand was a colony, or is a colony, was colonised by the British in the late 1700s, early 1800s. And that colonisation process played a massive role on had a massive impact on Māori culture and Māori history. The language, our arts, our spiritual belief systems, all of those things were affected badly by this colonisation process. The pinnacle of it was the signing of a treaty in 1840 between the British Crown and our Māori rangatira, our chiefs. And this treaty of Waitangi, which guaranteed Māori sovereignty and rights over their language and rights over our traditional land, still plays a major role in the way we live today. 2018, obviously, and we are almost 200 years beyond the date of that signing of that treaty. But the importance of it has rippled on down through the years. We have only, from a Māori perspective, we have only just reclaimed our right to be able to speak our own language in our court system, for example. Our arts and culture are only just beginning to recover from some of the effects of that colonisation. Next slide, please. Everything we do is encompassed in what's called Te Ao Māori, the Māori world and the Māori world view. And that concept I was talking to you about whakapapa and genealogy, is just a small part of that. It is built upon these principles. Whenua, which is our land. Whānau, which is our family and our family connections. Whakapapa, which you'll get to know by now, which is our genealogy. Whanaungatanga, which is a support network. It acknowledges family ties and connections. And Te Whare Tapa Whā, which is essentially the combination of the mind, the body, the spirit, I guess. Okay, and next. Obviously, technology has had huge impacts on all of our lives, not least amongst Māori or amongst the Māori view and Māori students in our education system. Obviously, many of those impacts are very positive. We obviously now have the ability to create more work. We're able to create it faster. We have an international link within a body of artists in New Zealand. We are able to share our work with everyone around the world at the touch of a button. The complexity of our work, pre-colonisation, all of our work was done with stone tools. Obviously, we're a long way from that now. We were able to use 3D digital routers, 3D printers. We're able to laser cut and all these sorts of things. And they are an amazing array of tools that allow the proliferation of our work globally. Some of the negative impacts, of course, of all of these technologies are that for Māori and our art, many of those artistic practices have great spiritual significance and were conducted with lots of rules and what we call tikanga practices. Of course, with the proliferation of technology, a lot of those old spiritual practices of the ways we used to do things have fallen by the wayside. And that for many of our young people no longer see the importance of some of those spiritual beliefs and practices in their artwork. Many would argue that we're seeing a loss of craft, that we're seeing a loss of crafting skills because of technology. That the craftsmanship required to, for example, carve a panel of wood into an ancestral figure is different to the level of skill required to 3D model the figure and route it out digitally. And the last, I suppose, is what's considered a perceived loss of mana. Mana is pride, I suppose, is a strength of purpose in our work. In times gone past, our carvers, our tattoo artists, our weavers, our great Māori orators held great mana And I guess the perception now is with technology and the way things are happening, that some of that mana and some of that pride is diminished because of technology. Next, please. I just thought I'd talk a little bit about the New Zealand film industry too, because it was such a big part of my history. New Zealand films we've been making for 100 years. We started, of course, with very small-scale projects, and those projects were drama-driven. That means we were trying to tell a story, and the stories were quite personal and quite intimate. We had everything we made by hand, so we built our own sets, and we built our own environments, and our costuming and everything else. Obviously, those film sets involved huge amounts of people from lots of different arts and crafts backgrounds and disciplines. The movie behind me, Black Sheep, was actually only made during my time at Weta. It was still a movie that was largely made by hand. And all of the sheep and the puppets used in that film were made by hand and puppeteered by hand. In other words, we had very little digital input. Next, please. Obviously, the movie behind me is very different. Avatar obviously was almost completely digital. So within my time at Weta, within a 10-year time span, we've seen movies that were completely made by hand to a movie that was almost exclusively digital. The scale of our projects has grown exponentially. We're able to do The Hobbit, we're able to do movies like Avatar now, and the stories or the types of stories we're telling have changed. They've become fantasy-driven, they've become far bigger in their scale. Where once upon a time we'd be able to shoot a movie with actors on a set, we now film pretty much exclusively against a green screen, and we drop in digital shots in behind. Next, please. Another industry that's changed dramatically is our traditional Māori concept of tattooing, which is called tā moko. You'll see on the screen behind me. I hope those of you that aren't squeamish. Obviously, that type of tattooing was originally done by hand and using small bone chisels. It carried great spiritual significance to it, and the practitioners of this art form had to train for many years to be able to understand the patterns that were required and the skills necessary to execute it. As you will see, a lot of those designs were driven by people, the rank and social status of people, and was indicating your family position and genealogy and history. So there was great meaning behind those designs. That process was governed by something called tapu, which makes it very sacred. Next. Next one. This has, of course, morphed over time with the advent of electric machines, and these days even those machines have changed a great deal, and they've become far more accessible to people, and people are able to do this work in their own home. In other words, those designs and the meanings behind them have changed dramatically. And there is nothing stopping anyone picking up these patterns and putting them on their body. Now, even amongst our own student body, we are seeing a huge resurgence in the significance of tattooing and a lot of students wanting to pursue it. And so part of our jobs as teachers is to pull those students back into a realm of understanding where these things have come from. That just because it is accessible doesn't necessarily make it right. Next, please. From a teaching perspective within New Zealand, within my time anyway, our New Zealand culture used to be made up of Māori and European people with some Pacific Island influence when I was going to school as a boy. That cultural identity has changed completely. New Zealand is now made up of people from the entire world. We have a global population within New Zealand. We have huge numbers of Chinese, for example. We have huge numbers of international students coming into our shores and staying, settling in the country, developing their own businesses and growing. Our student body now consists probably only about half would be New Zealand European. What that means is that we must acknowledge some of those cultural differences and belief systems in the way that we teach. Not only do we have to teach from a Māori and from a Pākehā perspective, but we have to also acknowledge and teach from all of the other cultures that are as part of our classes. That's not only to make those students feel at home and feel welcomed within our country, but it also broadens and deepens the understanding of New Zealand students when they're around those international students. They can start to see and acknowledge and learn from cultures other than their own. Given where we sit in a global economy, the need for these students to have an ability to see and understand and adapt to other cultures is more important now than it has ever been. The image you'll see behind me is a collaboration between a Māori student and a Cambodian student, actually. So you're starting to see the mix of cultures brought into mainstream artwork often. Our new campus, which we're just opening in Wellington in a week's time, my staff are actually just going into there for the first time on Monday. I'll be a week behind them. Is made up of many different creative disciplines all under one roof. And for the first time, we will have performing arts, visual arts, creative writing, music, dance, digital media, beauty therapy, hairdressing, makeup artistry. All of these disciplines for the first time will be under one roof, and it will change a great deal the way that students perceive their own creative discipline. Next slide. Art and design education obviously has changed a great deal. Where once upon a time we were driven by visual arts or traditional fine arts, where we were based within drawing and painting, sculpting, carving, etc., has now become more dominated by digital media. So we're seeing the importance of animation, graphic design, 3D modelling. What has happened, however, is that we've seen as we've seen in many other places around the world, a huge shift towards the digital that has actually left behind some of those tangible physical skills altogether. In many ways, what we wanted to do was to bring in digital to sit beside the physical. But our young people have grasped the digital with such a fervour as to leave behind all those physical skills. We are seeing, for example, even within our film industry and with industry professionals, sculptors who once upon a time would have sculpted in clay or plasticine are now sculpting in ZBrush or Maya and sculpting in 3D digital technology. Now, that has many benefits, not least of which that it's faster and cleaner. We're able to produce more things, we're able to adapt it and scale it. But it's also cost us a great deal in terms of our students' tangible response to shape and size and mass and form. In other words, our sculptors, our digital sculptors, are now struggling to understand some of the physical limitations of the creatures that they are sculpting. And the image I've got behind me on the screen is a very good example of it. So we've got students who can create these fantastical beasts in a three-dimensional software without understanding the underpinning physicality that allows a creature like this to be able to function. From somebody who has come from the older system of sculpting, I look at this creature and I know that it can never live or work from a physical perspective. Its skeleton wouldn't work and it couldn't move. These are some of the problems that we're starting to see amongst our student body. And next, please. So our job as teachers now is to start to try and rebed some of those initial tangible skills in physical sculpting and physical drawing and physical painting and making to sit beside the digital so that students can do one and do the other. One does not necessarily diminish the other. Digital skills are not diminished by physical skills, they can be enhanced by them, is our argument. The gentleman you see on the screen behind me, for example, Jamie Beswarek, works at Weta Workshop with me for many years, and he is the one sculptor that has refused to move from digital and still sculpts by hand. Oddly enough, it is to him that some of these younger sculptors who are sculpting digitally go to for reference to acknowledge the basis of the design, I guess. Because for Jamie has an integral knowledge of why those things work and how they work. A huge part of what we're trying to do within Te Kāhui Auaha, our new faculty in Wellington, is to embed collaborative practice. What we're seeing amongst our young and with the proliferation of technology is that our students have become more insular. In other words, they have become so tied to devices and to digital technology that they struggle sometimes to be able to work within groups and to achieve a group purpose. It is ironic that we've developed these digital tools and mechanisms by which to help our art and craft, and they do help us in many ways. But the adverse reaction is that some of our students become so embedded in technology that they can't see beyond it. Next, please. So I guess what does the future hold for us as a school and as an institution, as a group of institutions in New Zealand, as a global group of institutions of practitioners and teachers? We're seeing, as I've said, the proliferation of digital technology. So we're able to see now artworks that were once created wholly by hand are now being done digitally. Rapid prototyping, laser cutting, 3D milling technology, digital filmmaking technology are all paramount and foremost in the art and design culture, I suppose, within our young art practitioners. Next, please. The reason I've put this up behind me is that this is a picture of myself and my son. As an artist, I've created many things in my life, but he remains the best thing I've ever made or helped to make. The reason I put that there is that as a teacher and as a manager of teachers, my job is not to impart necessarily my knowledge onto my students, although that's certainly important. My job is to allow the young people to see and acknowledge their history, their culture, the importance of their mana or their spirituality, their language and their customs, while acknowledging a new and changing world. In other words, the future does not lie with me. The future for me lies with my 12-year-old son. So the things that I teach him become so much more than the teaching of skills. It becomes the teaching of a way of life and a belief system. The concept that I spoke to you about, whakapapa and genealogy, at its root cause means that all people around the world, every single one of us, if we choose to acknowledge our whakapapa or our genealogy back to its very root, we are all from the same place. We know this. When we see art and design around the world, when I saw the performance going on stage before I came up, I could see pieces of Māori culture, I could see pieces of Pacific Island culture. The drumming, I could see elements of China and Japan. I can see all of these things, and they're just beneath the surface. We nationally all look to our own culture and we draw a line in the sand in our genealogy, our whakapapa, and we say, this is where we're from. This is our history. This is our culture. And that's right. That's correct. However, if we take it one step further, we begin to acknowledge that that culture and that history goes back much, much further than that. And that the things that drive us to make and create art and design in whichever format we choose all has a basis in the same history, the same whakapapa, if we take it back far enough. That tells us that for all of our differences globally, and there are many, the one thing that unites us all is a shared history, if we take it back far enough, shared belief systems in our ancestors and our gods and our customs, and it is those things that we need to share on a global scale, and it is those things that I believe we need to impart most to our students. I thank you a great deal for giving me the opportunity to talk to you all. No mai, haere mai, haere rā.
Any questions? Thank you very much for a very impressive talk this morning. And I got a word, wakapapa. So what does it mean here? Can you catch? Wakapapa. Any questions? So Mr. Mackey focuses with you now. Oh, a question. Thank you. Can you please take the question now? Are you ready for that? Thank you.
Okay, I heard Waka Papa first time, and I have questions. What kind of material that make the Waka Papa? What kind of material?
The term whakapapa is a reference to genealogy or history. So there's nothing. It's not a physical or a tangible thing. I guess. When I look around the room, everything has its own whakapapa. So these beautiful pots that you see over here, in Māori culture, I would say that they whakapapa to Papa Tuanuku, our earth goddess, because they come from the earth. And therefore, when students are making or creating these things, they must acknowledge that the material has come from something other than a shop. It has a history that you can trace back to the gods. And you must acknowledge that when you create these things.
One more question?
Yeah, what is called the Maori culture, right? Yeah, I have another. I have the questions about the avatar. Yeah, almost the culture that's from Maori culture.
That's a really excellent question. Avatar was made by an American director called James Cameron, and he came down to New Zealand, and we put the film together and we made it in New Zealand. When you look at the film, or when I look at the film, I can see little nods to New Zealand culture, Māori culture, within the film. There's a sequence there where the Na'vi, the creatures, greet each other by pressing noses. That act in Māori is called a hongi, and it's how we greet one another. The pressing of noses. It's not actually about pressing noses together. It is about sharing breath, because you're in each other's face. And so when I hongi you, I share your breath and you share mine. And that tells us that we're the same. We both need air and we share it.
So let's share our breath. Okay, thank you very much. Again, wakapapa. It is the root of all the things on earth. Like the pottery here, the mother of earth. Like here, we have lots of things and we focus on the original of it. And everything built up as the gynecology, right? So this is what we call wakapapa. And today we learned the word, right? And I would like to welcome our third keynote speaker. He is from our neighbor country, from Cambodia. I would like to invite Associate Professor Wuti Siu, the director of Brewbite University, and he will come with his friend, very close friend, Assistant Professor Soti Te, right? Thank you very much. He will talk on the topic of World Heritage. Please welcome.
ជំរាបសួរបាទជំរាបសួរសวัสดีครับ Good morning ladies and gentlemen and students. May I pay my respect to Professor Pisal Boran Wattana, President of the Ratchamangkon University, Suvarnabhumi, Dr. Thanu Thot Thanakun, Dean of Faculty of Liberal Arts, and Professor, ladies and gentlemen. So today we have a great pleasure and honor to be here in the stage of the 8th International Conference on Art and Culture Network, theme World Heritage, Intangible Culture to Creative Economic. ภูมิเชิญวุฒิศิลป์และอาจารย์สุธีเตส we from Bill Pride University Siem Reap campus and where you can find the Angkor Heritage Site in Siem Reap. We have worked with Ratchamangkon University Suvarnabhumi for almost 6 years since year 2012. So regarding to the exchange of language teaching, Thai language teaching. So regarding to this exchange program, I would like to say a very profound thanks to Professor Paisal, President of Ratchamangkon University, and Dean of the Faculty of Liberal Arts, always support us, sending teacher to teach Thai language in our campus. Yeah. And I also would like to thank to Ajahn Sambat Sarajanda, who always come to teach at our campus for every 2 years. Yeah. And actually today I would like to introduce my associate Professor Sotites, who is our history professor and archaeological professor, who gonna present you the academic lecture on World Heritage, focus on challenge for intangible heritage at Angkor site. So please, Professor Tesuti, who do the presentation for the conference. Thank you very much.
Sawadikap. Jumriap Su. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I have the great honor to present about the topic on intangible heritage. Yes, at Angkor site. Yes. Okay. Yes, Angkor. Yes, Angkor that means Nagara in Sanskrit word. We can equal to capital or city. In the Thai word, Nakhon Luang. Yes, yes, the same meaning. Yes, Angkor was the ancient capital of Great Khmer Empire from 19th to 14th century, and actually it's actually related to the Ayutthaya. Yes, during the 15th century, Ayutthaya was rising up. Yeah, Angkor that time is fall down. Yes. Yes. Angkor is in the northwestern of Cambodia province, Siem Reap province. Yes, and has a border with Thailand. Yes, this is the Angkor area, that the map of the Angkor area, and I want to mention about the ICC, International Coordinating Committee for Safeguarding of the Angkor World Heritage Site. Yes, before register in the World Heritage Site, Angkor's have to fulfill the many criteria, such as we set up zoning, law of regulation for protection Angkor site. Yes. So in the Angkor site, yes, there are many monuments, yes, structure, history, water reservoir, moat, canal, and so on. Yes. Another one. Yes, next slide, please. Yes, and yes, this is the Angkor site. Yes, and the below is Tonle Sap, a big river that has a lot of fresh fish. Yes, in Southeast Asia. Yes, and beside the tangible heritage, we yes, there are 100,000 inhabitants like in Angkor area. So we can see some people that still practice beliefs and ceremony in the Angkor site. Yes, and the institute who are responsibility for the management and protection of the Angkor site is Apsara Authority, which collaborate with foreign institute to take care of the monument and the people in this area. Yes, please. Yes, so I would like to show the cultural remains from the Angkor civilization. Okay. Yes, it's just the area, the territory of the Angkor site. Just show you about the tangible heritage that we could see. Yes. One. Okay, the big city of Angkor Thom. Yes. In Angkor, the king of Jayavarman VII, the great king of Khmer Empire during the 13th century. Okay, it's the cockfighting carving in the Bayon temple. Angkor Wat, the biggest temple in the world in Hindu religions. Yes. And the carving of the king Suryavarman II who built this temple. And we also seen some ceramic, yes, that remain that we found in excavation. And thousands of linga carving on the river, Siem Reap River. Yes. Another one that I want to focus on is the intangible heritage that we focus on beliefs and Khmer ceremony, especially for the Angkor area. Yes. Okay, now start from the first one. Actually, in the Khmer belief that from the beginning of birth until die, we had to do many ceremony. Yes, that we call passage rite. Yes, passage rite. In Khmer word, Piti Chong Wei. Yes, from the beginning, birth ceremony. That for the rural or local area, that they don't receive more than medical treatment. So for the giving child, yes, they need a midwife, local midwife to help. Yes, so they do this ceremony for gratitude to the midwife. Yes, and the next one we call Kao Chuk, cutting of the top knot. Yes, yes, and yeah, for the children, both girl and boy from 5 years old until 11 years old, they have to keep a bun of hair. Yes, and during the 11 or 13 years old, they have to do a ceremony for cutting this bun of hair. Yes, so it shows that it like gratitude to the parent, and also show that they will become a teenager. Yes. So another one part, they are divided too. For the girl, they have to go to another one right. We call in Khmer word chomalup. That means entering the shed. That means the girl has to stay all the day in the house. Yes, for learning about housework or advice from their mother, especially making up their duty. Yeah, and about sometimes it take about 1 week, 3 weeks, or sometimes longer is 1 year. Yes, because after that they will be married. Yeah, for the boy, yeah, that we can see many that young teenager, they are going to be ordained in the pagoda, yeah, to be the Buddhist monk. Yes, and after they finish this ceremony, they come to the marriage. Actually, for the local people, for the wedding ceremony, they took about 3 days. Yeah, sometimes 1 week. Yeah, because they do practice many rites. Yeah, from the morning until the midnight. Yes, so it took long time. Yes, so after the marriage, about we will be old, about 60 or 70 years old. They will do one ceremony we call prolonging of life. Yes, that means to make our life long. Yes, for the old. But the last one that we could not escape is cremation. Yes, for the Angkor area, there are a specific unit that for cremation. When there are some relative die, that means that they do a ceremony. They invite a monk or acha to pray, and later they bring the dead body to bury inside the pagoda. Yes. A few years later, yes, a head of villager or a monk asked the people to do a big ceremony. So the people in this village, they have their relatives, so they had to dig out the bone, yeah, for cremation. It is unique for Angkor area. That otherwhere, no. Yes. Other ceremony, yes, in Angkor side, we call Piti Buông Suom Song Tập Plieng, praying for the remaining, for the raining, yeah, praying for the raining. That we can see some northeast of Thailand in Surin and Boraidam, yes, and also in Angkor, yes. They create, when there has a drought, no raining at all, so they has to do this ceremony. Yeah, they create a lake, artificial lake, and they mold frog, fish, crab, yeah, turquoise, yes, in the artificial lake. Yeah. Right. Yes, and some people had to pray in the temple, yeah, at the Prasat Chatham temple, and we also performing the fishing in artificial lake, and also invite monk and other people to join. Yes. Okay. Another one is Sampot Prapum, consecrating the wall of the village. That means Prapum, that means the god of the village. So when there are a series of unluck, sickness or bad luck in the village, so the people had decided to inaugurate a new Prapum. Okay. Yes. So they dig its, yeah, wooden pillars represent the Prapum. Yeah, so they dig and take it out and replace by the new one. Yes. So they look for the soil, a good soil or lucky soil for putting in the Prapum. Yes. And Acha also tying the Prapum too. Okay. Yes, start the integration by joining by the monk. Okay. Okay. Yes. So they use a rope. They put a rope surrounding their village in order to protect the bad luck go inside to their village. Yes. Okay. The last one, that means spirit possession. It's related to the god of the temple of Angkor Wat. Yes. They pray for their happiness. Yes. Okay. That's one. Yes. For the people, local people in the north of Angkor, they respect much the temple. So when they go to visit the temple, they have to take off their shoe. Yes. One more. Oh, no. Okay. I would like to show you a short video about 5 minutes on Angkor is our heritage.
Cambodia, the kingdom of wonder with a long and rich history of culture and tradition. Come and celebrate Khmer New Year Festival and experience the best of our cultural treasures. Siem Reap, Angkor, Cambodia. Cambodia, kingdom of wonder.
ខ្ញុំឆ្ងល់ថាហេតុអ្វីបានជាគេសាងសង់ប្រាសាទធំម្ល៉េះនៅទីនេះ
ឪពុកម្ដាយខ្ញុំតែងតែប្រាប់ខ្ញុំថានេះជាកន្លែងពិសេសមួយ
ធម្មជាតិបានផ្ដល់អ្វីទាំងអស់ដែលយើងត្រូវការនៅក្នុងតំបន់តូចនេះប៉ុន្តែយើងត្រូវតែថែរក្សានៅអ្វីដែលយើងមានភ្នំគូលែនបានផ្ដល់ជាថ្មប្រភពទឹកឈើអនុផលព្រៃឈើជាច្រើននិងវាលទំនាបមានប្រភេទពូជស្រូវផ្សេងគ្នានិងបឹងទន្លេសាបផ្ដល់ត្រីជាច្រើន
អង្គសត្វពីដើមបានគ្រប់គ្រងធនធានធម្មជាតិទាំងនេះយ៉ាងមានប្រសិទ្ធភាពជាពិសេសធនធានទឹកក្នុងការកសាងជាអាណាចក្រមួយដ៏អស្ចារ្យដែលគេទទួលស្គាល់ពេញសកលលោកពេលខ្លះពេលដែលខ្ញុំឃើញពិធីបុណ្យនិងប្រពៃណីរបស់យើងនៅតែបន្តប្រារព្ធធ្វើឲ្យខ្ញុំស្រមើស្រមៃឃើញពេលដែលពួកគេកំពុងតែសាងសង់ប្រាសាទទាំងនេះទាំងពិភពលោកចង់មកទស្សនាប្រាសាទនានារបស់យើងដូច្នេះយើងត្រូវរៀនសម្របខ្លួនតាមពេលវេលាដោយពុំធ្វើឲ្យបាត់បង់នៅបេតិកភណ្ឌរបស់យើងឡើយ
ឥឡូវនេះប្រជាពលរដ្ឋលក់សិប្បកម្មនិងចម្លាក់ឲ្យភ្ញៀវទេសចរប៉ុន្តែការរកឈើមកឆ្លាក់ជាបញ្ហាប្រឈមមួយប្រសិនជាយើងមិនយកចិត្តទុកដាក់ក្នុងការថែរក្សាសម្បត្តិធម្មជាតិឲ្យបានត្រឹមត្រូវនិងបំពេញវាជាថ្មីទេនោះបេតិកភណ្ឌធម្មជាតិរបស់យើងអាចនឹងបាត់បង់ភ្ញៀវទេសចរជាច្រើនចង់ភ្លក់អាហារប្រពៃណីរបស់ខ្មែរដែលបានជួយក្នុងការកសាងអាណាចក្រមួយនេះ កសិករនៅតែប្រើគោក្របីក្នុងការជួររាស់ដីស្រែនិងដំណាំផ្សេងទៀតហើយឥឡូវនេះអាជ្ញាធរអប្សរាបានព្រួយផ្ដើមជួយយើងរកចំណូលបន្ថែមដោយប្រើរទេះគោនោះសម្រាប់ដឹកភ្ញៀវទេសចរជិះកម្សាន្តតាមភូមិហើយយើងខំធ្វើអាហារបែបប្រពៃណីបន្ថែមទៀតសម្រាប់លក់ឲ្យភ្ញៀវទេសចរ
អាជ្ញាធរអប្សរាបានជួយក្នុងការរចនាម៉ូដផ្ទះបុរាណខណៈពេលដែលជំរុញលើកកម្ពស់គុណភាពនៃជីវិតកាន់តែប្រសើរឡើងជាមួយនឹងការប្រើប្រាស់ធុងចម្រោះទឹកស្អាតនិងថាមពលពន្លឺព្រះអាទិត្យមានបញ្ហាមួយចំនួនពិតមែនប៉ុន្តែវាជាបេតិកភណ្ឌរបស់យើងហើយវាជាការទទួលខុសត្រូវរបស់យើងទាំងអស់គ្នាណែតើពួកឯងគិតថាយើងអាចធ្វើអ្វីខ្លះទៀតដើម្បីចូលរួមក្នុងការថែរក្សាបេតិកភណ្ឌរបស់យើង
ខ្ញុំនឹងឈប់ប្រើឧបករណ៍ខុសច្បាប់បាញ់សត្វនិងនេសាទត្រីទៀតហើយខ្ញុំយល់ហើយហេតុអ្វីបានជាពុកម្ដាយខ្ញុំចង់ឲ្យខ្ញុំសាងភ្នោះហើយខ្ញុំចង់ចាំថាប្រាសាទនិងវត្តអារាមនានាជាកន្លែងពិសេសនៃការគោរពបូជា
អូអញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំអាចដាំឈើជាមួយមិត្តភ័ក្តិរបស់ខ្ញុំដូច្នេះយើងនឹងមានបន្លប់ផ្លែឈើសត្វនិងឈើសម្រាប់ពេលអនាគត
យើងទាំងអស់គ្នាគួរយល់នៅអត្ថប្រយោជន៍នៃបរិស្ថានសេដ្ឋកិច្ចនិងវប្បធម៌ដើម្បីថែរក្សាបេតិកភណ្ឌរបស់យើងអាជ្ញាធរអប្សរាអាជ្ញាធរមូលដ្ឋាននិងស្ថាប័នពាក់ព័ន្ធកំពុងខិតខំប្រឹងប្រែងប៉ុន្តែយើងទាំងអស់គ្នាក៏ត្រូវចូលរួមគ្រប់គ្នាដែរកុំភ្លេចថាយើងជាផ្នែកមួយនៃបេតិកភណ្ឌហើយបេតិកភណ្ឌគឺជាផ្នែកមួយនៃពួកយើងទាំងអស់គ្នា
បាទអូខេ Yeah. Okay. As Uncle receive a lot of benefit from development, especially tourism development. But if we see, yeah, there are many challenges of intangible cultural heritage asset at Uncle. First, yes, there are only three that I want to mention. First, the changing of local perception on toward ritual ceremony. Yes, many local don't join the ceremony. For example, this ceremony. Yes, now we could not see anymore the children keeping a bundle hair. Yes, there remain a few families that keep something like that. So they think that because of spending much money for doing the ceremony and also take time, yeah, so now they are neglected or careless of holding the ceremony. Yes, another one is demographic change because of the tourism business. Many outsider newcomer come into an Angkor area, and for other local resident move out. So that means the ceremony are decreasing in because the newcomer don't know about the value or history of the ceremony. So they do not celebrate this ceremony too. Yes, and another one is the government sector and other public sector don't care much about that. They take care much about the temple restoration, the temple preserving, but about the beliefs, about the tradition, they don't care. Yes. Okay, that's why. Yes. So for the Angkor site, as we know as a sacred place and also a living heritage site, but a huge also challenge and problems now existing in Angkor site. Yes, and without joining from Apsara Authority or other public sector or stakeholder to pay more attention on taking action seriously. Yes, those ceremony and will be disappear from the heritage site. Yes, thank you very much for your paying attention. Yes.
Thank you very much, Assistant Professor Sotite. And now, for all of you guys, any questions? Oh,
Thank you. I have some questions. I saw you with Ajahn Kangwon. Do you know Ajahn Kangwon?
Yes. Okay.
Yes, I saw you in the picture. Yeah, and I have the question: what is the combinations of the Pram and Buddhist culture that's present in Cambodia now? What is a combination of
Combination. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. It's actually that means it's remain from the past that always mix together. When you visit the temple, such as Bayon Temple, you will see the Brahmanic carving and also Buddhist carving too. That means the two religion have live together. Yes, and until now we can see this combination too in Thailand or Cambodia. That is continue from the past that these two religions can make together happily. Yes, in many ceremony that actually it's arranged by the Brahmanism. Yes, not by the Buddhism. And especially in the Royal Palace, there are many rites of Brahmanism. Yeah, in Thailand, yeah, or in Cambodia, the same. Yes, it's like living together by harmony. Yes, maybe it's different from India. Yes. Okay.
Another question. I saw the picture from the temple in Siem Reap, and I saw some temple. Their dress toy, there's something like dress toy, like broken. Is from like actually they are the picture of Buddha and destroyed to something like Brahmanism. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Actually, during the 13th century, actually maybe there has a small dispute between the Brahmanism and Buddhism by some people who believe much in Brahmanism, yes, and some people from Buddhism. It a little bit dispute. But most of the local people believe that these two, we need to respect the two religions. Just only you mentioned about only maybe the early of 14th century there are some dispute. Yes, not about we could not to say about the wall of religion like in Europe. No, it's different. It's just a small group that contrast each other. Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I'm very interested in the frog found in the ankle side.
Yeah.
So how do you know the frog is prayed for the raining?
Yeah.
Does some history document recorded?
Yeah.
Or is the story from the resident or the ethnic groups?
Yeah. It's from it we call intangible. That means There's no record in inscription in the temple, no record about that. But we can see the people still practice from their generation to other generation. Yes, now they still practicing every year because when there are no rain, no water, drought, yes, they have to do this ceremony. That we can see in northeast of Thailand, in Buriram and Surin, and also in some other part of Cambodia, especially in Angkor area. Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Any questions? So finally, I would like to thank our third keynote speaker, Assistant Professor Sotite and Assistant Professor Wuti Siu, right, from Bilbait University. And this is the end for the morning session with the keynote speakers. And don't forget today, our two keynote speakers have already mentioned about the root of our culture and arts. We have the same root and we have to preserve it. Like what Mr. Mackey say, Wakapapa, we develop from the same original and then we will build up and why we have to preserve it, like Assistant Professor Sotite has already mentioned about the world heritage. We are from the same root. We help maintain and preserve it. Thank you very much to attend this morning session. And the lunch will be on the second floor. Enjoy your lunch, and in the afternoon, please entertain yourself here with all many cultural performances. Thank you very much.